This presentation is an introduction to Spanish subject pronouns. Before we start in on Spanish, let's go over what subject pronouns are in English. In this table, you have the subject pronouns followed by the verb to be. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, they are. These are all familiar constructions to you. A subject pronoun refers to the person or thing completing the action of the verb. In English, the subject pronouns I, he, and she refer to one person, or in the case of it, one object, and are thus called singular pronouns. We and they refer to two or more people, so they are called plural pronouns. The pronoun you in English can refer to one person or several. Note that the verb changes slightly according to the subject pronoun used. This is because verbs are conjugated to agree with their subject pronouns. In other words, in academic English, we don't say I is or he are. This is true in both English and Spanish. Let's find out how to say the subject pronouns in Spanish. I is yo. You, when it refers to one person, can either be tú or usted. In English, the word you can also refer to a group of people. In that case, it is either vosotros or vosotras or ustedes in Spanish. He is él. Don't forget to write the accent on the E. She is ella. In English, when talking about an object, we say it. There isn't a word for it in Spanish. Instead, just say él or ella depending on the gender of the object. The pronoun we is either nosotros or nosotras. And finally, they is either ellos or ellas. Before going on, I want to draw your attention to a couple of academic terms to use when talking about pronouns. In this table, the pronouns are organized in 3 rows. The first row has what we call first-person pronouns. The first person includes the speaker, so the pronouns I and we are considered to be first person. The next row has second-person pronouns. The second person indicates we are speaking directly to someone else. In other words, we're saying you. The last row has the third-person pronouns. The third person is used to speak about someone else. So he, she, it, and they. In Spanish, these are called the primera persona, segunda persona, and tercera persona. Okay, let's get back to the subject pronouns in Spanish. Here, you have them organized in a table. You will always see verbs and pronouns organized this way in any textbook or other resource. All Romance languages will, more or less, be organized in this pattern. You may be thinking, but I thought usted and ustedes meant you. Why are they in the third person? While these two pronouns do translate as you, the verbs that go with them are conjugated in the third person forms. As a result, we always place usted and ustedes in the third row. Strange, I know. You have probably noticed that there are many ways to say you in Spanish. First, let's see how to say you in Spain. When you're talking to one person, use either tú or usted. Tú is used in informal situations, such as talking to a friend, a coworker, a sibling, etc. Usted is used in formal situations, such as talking to your boss or some other person in a position of perceived power. When you are talking to more than one person, you need to keep gender in mind. To say you plural in an informal way, say either vosotros or vosotras. Vosotros is used to address an all-male or mixed gender group, while vosotras is reserved for all female groups. In formal speech, however, the plural of you is ustedes, regardless of gender. It's worth noting that the use of the informal register is widespread in Spain, far more so than in Latin America. Moving on to Latin America, here are the various ways to say you. Whenever you are addressing a group of people in Latin America, you don't need to worry about gender or register. The plural you is always ustedes. The distinction between tú and usted is the same in Latin America as it is in Spain, with tú being informal and usted being formal. Note that the formal usted is used quite frequently in Latin America as a sign of respect. And in some parts of Latin America, there is yet another informal, singular version of you, vos. The use of vos varies from region to region and will be addressed in a separate video. Since I mentioned the difference between vosotros and vosotras, let's move on to a discussion of gender in Spanish. In linguistics, we say that Spanish is a much more heavily gendered language than English. For example, in English, I say we to refer to myself and others regardless of any of our genders. In Spanish, however, I need to take the group members' genders into account when deciding between nosotros and nosotras. Here is a table outlining all the pronouns that are gendered in Spanish. Él means he, ella means she. For the plural we, say nosotros for a mixed gender or all-male group and nosotras for an all-female group. Following that same pattern, vosotros and vosotras both mean you plural, while ellos and ellas both mean they. Language, of course, is not a static thing. It is constantly evolving. You've probably heard the use of the singular they in English as a gender-neutral alternative to he and she. While there isn't an officially recognized equivalent in Spanish, some options have been proposed. The X ending is often used to indicate gender neutrality. However, it makes some words hard or impossible to pronounce. Instead, the use of a final E has been offered as an easily pronounced alternative. Thus, for the singular they, you can say ella. A gender-neutral we is nosotres. A gender-neutral you plural is vosotres. And a gender-neutral they plural is ellas. Know that in Spanish, as well as in English, using gender-neutral language can be indicative of one's own politics or worldview. As a result, some people choose when to use these newer terms and when not to. Okay, that's all I've got for subject pronouns right now. Here is a handy chart in Spanish of everything you should memorize. In addition to this chart, make sure to memorize what each subject pronoun means in English. And as always, I recommend that you make flashcards. Thanks!